Hello everyone, thank you for clicking on my project. I am going to be talking about social media and mediation and how to encourage healthy habits and the research behind it. Uh, Before I begin, I want to go over quickly the agenda. So I'm going to go into the introduction, kind of introduce the project to everyone, and then I will get into the project design, and then I'll talk about results and do a little bit of the discussion that I do in my paper. I do want to say that there will be research kind of mentioned throughout the presentation, but if you want to know more about the research, feel free to reference my paper, which I will probably link in the description. So, the rise of social media use in modern daily life has had a substantial impact on the social life of young adults and adolescents. Sites like Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok kind of format their pages to encourage seamless scrolling, or as it's colloquially known, doom scrolling, for keeping users engaged in content consumption for as long as possible. This project seeks to address the ongoing challenges of social media addiction. A report from 2015 documented that 71% of teenage social media users consume more than one form of social media, and 24% of adolescents are almost constantly online because of their smartphones. So, in 2024, it was reported that more than 90% of teenagers engage with platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok on a regular basis. The same article also uncovered notable connections between social media use and anxiety, depression, sleep quality, and self-esteem. It is important to note in this project that not all aspects of social media are negative. Social media helps us stay connected with each other and is good for providing a creative outlet for people who want to use it that way. Experts recommend promoting digital literacy, i.e., social media habits, and establishing boundaries for nighttime social media use, which is where anxious use is most prevalent. Additionally, researchers established a self-report questionnaire to help users assess addictive use of social media, known as the Bergen Social Media Addiction Scale, or BSMAS. So in the research that I've done for this project, key findings of social media have included both positive and negative effects. Positive findings include increased social support, access to resources, educational content, and community building. And negative findings include cyberbullying, social comparison, information overload, addiction and dependence, filtering reality, and then social isolation. Interestingly, it can be used both to connect with people and it can have the effect on you that you feel isolated from people. The research repeatedly calls for the spread of digital literacy, and almost every modern American has access to technology in some form. And the best way to prevent technology misuse is to educate the user. Because of this gap, this project seeks to spread awareness of healthy social media habits and promote digital literacy in regard to social media consumption. So the goal of this project is to create a gamified digital experience that will educate users on healthy social media habits. The design will encourage and educate users of healthy social media consumption based on current and existing research on the subject, as well as expert recommendations on healthy online habits. So moving on to project design, this project went through a low-fidelity prototyping phase, concept testing, and mid-fidelity prototype development. The low-fidelity prototype was designed in Google Drawings, so I have it posted up here on the right side of the screen. And it was used just to provide a rough outline of what the user flow would look like. Concept testing on this prototype provided insight into what the mid-fidelity prototype would kind of look like. Mid-fidelity prototype looked like this. So after I did some concept testing and gathered some feedback from my participants, I used that feedback to help create the mid-fidelity prototype. So what I have up on screen here is actually phase 1 of the mid-fidelity prototype phase. So there were 2 phases of development. The first phase is this, and the second phase is what I will pull up right now. So this is the starting screen that you will land on when you're going through the design. So as you can see, this is available in mobile or desktop, and we will use desktop because that's easier to see on the presentation. So when you enter the game, you're hit with a quote which is included in my research. So in 2024, it was reported that more than 90% of teenagers engage with social media on a daily basis. This is what I mentioned earlier in the presentation, and something that I thought was important to provide for context for the user. You can click on the arrow, and it says select an app to begin. And you can select an app. And I won't go through everything in great detail just for the sake of time, but once you enter an app, you gain a status effect, and it says click the status effects to learn more. Once you click on that, it gives you a little bit more information. So the status effect that you gained is you're entertained, and then the blurb is you just spent 10 minutes straight laughing at the same video from someone falling out of bed. Maybe one more watch. And then the second effect, which is, so the first one is a good effect. The second one is a negative effect. The second one is Doom Scroll Zombie. You look at the clock and realize you've spent 2 hours on the app, and as you look up from your phone, the fatigue sets in. It might be time to be done. And then you can click on the arrow to go back, and then you click on the arrow again, and you leave the app. And then you can select, as you see, it kind of takes you through a sequence. So the first app is pink, the second app is blue, and you can click on that one. Click on the status effects to learn more. You can see what's going on in here. I won't read it just, again, for the sake of time, but the status effects that you gain in the blue app, this one is a little bit more, the pink app I should add is more like entertainment. So reels, funny videos, stuff like that. That's what the pink app is supposed to represent. This one is supposed to represent like news, politics, that kind of form of social media. So you become informed, but your anxiety is heightened, and you have a blurb that kind of tells you about that. And then lastly, you have the yellow app that you can click on. And the yellow app is more like community centered. So like talking to people, engaging with like private stories. So you get the status community connection, and you can kind of like see your messages, and then ideally in another iteration of this project, you would be able to see like private stories and vlogs and stuff like that from your friends. And it would make you also self-conscious of what other people are doing and how you feel in relation to them. And then after that, you can freely roam around the app, go through, click on stuff as you are interested in it. And lastly, you are taken to a page that kind of brings the research full circle. Experts recommend promoting digital literacy, i.e. healthy social media apps or habits. And then it gives you a link to the Bergen Social Media Addiction Scale, which is available right here. So that is the prototype. As for results for my research, I found that prior social media experience, there were 3 common takeaways that I found in my research. And everyone that I interviewed had been aware of the risks of social media to some capacity, despite engaging with it. And they did acknowledge that it would actually probably be more helpful for people, for adolescents than young adults. And they acknowledged that it would probably be a better app for like supporting students or younger students and stuff like that. So they did also note that it does bring attention to bad social media use, which could be helpful in some contexts. Design usability, all participants felt that the flow of the game was effective in illustrating the point by simulating a smartphone experience. And then additional features that they thought would be good to add into the game is add content for online dating, retain the user flow that was presented in concept testing. So that flow that we went through, the pink, blue, yellow, it wasn't like that before. You could just kind of like free roam your way through it. But some of my users actually mentioned that they liked that flow, so that was something that I implemented in the game design. And then making the player more relatable, so adding like messages, which I did in the game, and then giving the player a little bit more of a backstory as you go through their phone was also a recommended route for the design. In terms of discussion, problematic social media usage is a worldwide phenomenon that seems to be widespread and kind of undertreated. So social media comes with many benefits that should be taken advantage of, but users also have to understand the risks that come with consuming online content in order to stay mentally healthy. The gap that this project aims to bridge is that although experts recommend promoting digital literacy, there's a current lack of available programs to teach adolescents and young adults about tracking social media habits to maximize the benefits and prevent unhealthy use. I've included some of the positive and negative effects in the above me right now. Let me see if I can get my guy switched over here. But there's social support, there's mental health awareness, there's a lot of positive effects, and there's also a lot of negative effects, and this research has only really scratched the surface. So these are all the key findings that I found. Some of them are included in the prototype, some of them are not. But further developments of this project should include how to deal with 3 kinds of widespread internet falsehoods. So there's misinformation, which is false information spread with good intent. There is disinformation, which is false information spread with bad intent. And then there's malinformation, which is just information taken out of context to apply to a context it shouldn't be applied to. Approaching these is crucial, especially approaching them appropriately, to becoming digitally literate and making informed decisions online. Another good topic of this project would be exploring the realms of online dating and sexual content. That was something that one of my users brought up during testing. Research and exploration on the topic of online dating and how it affects interpersonal relationships is recommended as an extension of this project. Another possible way to expand the project would be to be looking into government involvement in online activity, whether that's legislation or government programs to help people understand how to manage online interactions. This was something that I found among other research that I had done that had also pointed out government involvement needs to be a little bit more heavy. Research into this project also included findings in neurocognitive impacts of social media by monitoring brain activity. I am not a neuroscientist, so I limited including that, and I kind of put it in more anecdotally just because I don't have a background in that, but collaborating with a neuroscientist would be a good way for this project to kind of move forward in the future. In regard to game design, further developments of the mid-fidelity and high-fidelity prototypes should utilize a software that allows for game logic implementation. If you saw before I started the game, I just had a bunch of different screens to simulate variables changing. Figma is good, but I have the free version of it, so higher fidelity versions of it should use a professional version of Figma or just another software entirely. I think high fidelity I would just recommend a different software. That should be everything for my project. Thank you for listening, and monitor your social media use.